And once it's live, okay, so we're live. And
Okay.
good evening to our guests. This is our second motion to adjourn on a Sunday, and I have the privilege of having the Honorable Randolph Horton, OBE JP, commonly known to some as the Big Bear, and and to I would say to St. George's fans, that guy that spoiled everything. Good evening, Mr. Speaker. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thanks, Chris. It's good to be here with you.
Yes, my apologies again to the listening audience for Thursday. We had a slight challenge, so we're trying to make it up with this live thing where you can actually see Mr. Horton live, so you know I'm not impersonating him. So good evening, Mr. Horton.
Hi.
Can
Hi.
you?
Good evening, Christopher.
I see the colors you have on, and of course you see the colors that I have on.
Absolutely. If I was going to be talking about cup match, well, it only I had to have on red and blue.
All right,
That's the
all
only
right.
colors I wear during the month of July, anyway.
Do you,
From
do
a
you,
little
do you,
boy,
do you,
Christopher. From a little
do you,
boy.
you- okay, all right. So that's a good starting point.
Mhm.
Now, where were you born and bred?
I was born at Cookshill in Somerset, and
Folks
been
Hill.
bred in Cookshill in
For for
Somerset.
those for those who aren't from the West, where is Cooks Hill?
Okay, Cooks Hill, if you know where West End School is, then
I've
it's
heard of
right.
that school.
Yes, that's right. There's a lot of talk about it recently. So if you know where West End School is, it's the hill right behind West End School going east. If you go east from West End School, and if you drive up the road that's called Scotts Hill Road, it's on the right of Scotts Hill Road. And Anybody who knows where Tilly's shop is, Baxter's, is at the bottom of Cooks Hill.
Baxter's, that's the place that makes you second best beef pies in Bermuda, right?
I think so. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
The
and I
second
remember
best, because
growing up,
because uh,
it was the store that we were always said, go down to the store, get me a pound of sugar or whatever.
hmm so just a brief for those again for those who was from not the West. What was it like growing up in not just Cooks Hill, Somerset, but Somerset back in your era?
It was great. It was great, Chris. And to tell you, and cricket in particular was ever so special. Not only special in Somerset, but it was extra special in my family too. One of the
Mm-hmm.
first things that I remember getting for cup match, for Christmas, was a cricket bat and a football. That's one of the first presents I had for Christmas. And so I've been playing cricket from I was knee high, and we played in the yard in Cooks Hill. We had a yard up there that we played in, and then of course I went on to West End School where I played cricket for West End School, and then in fact I became the captain of the West End School's cricket team. I then from there I went on to Berkeley. At Berkeley, I became the captain of the Barclays cricket team. And then the Somerset Colts, we had the Somerset Colts, which was a junior team to Somerset Cricket Club. And I became the captain of the Somerset Colts. And all of this before the first time I played a cup match, which was I was 18 years old, was 1963, Christopher. Unbelievable. I'll never forget. It was before I went abroad to school. I was working as a student teacher at West End School. And interestingly, that year, I think the cricket team had gone abroad. The Summers team had gone abroad for on a tour, I think, that year. And so I got kind of promoted forward into playing some games with the league team, and I ended up doing fairly well. And hey, got selected for Cup match in 1963. That was probably the biggest thrill of my life. Was when I was told as an 18-year-old boy that I was going to be playing cup match. Of course, there were many people who said I only made the team because I was Warren Simmons' grandson. But my grandfather happened to
Uh,
be, my grandfather was a long-time president of the club, and of course, a lot of family connected with cricket and Somerset cricket. My father, Ray Horton, was a wicket keeper, played wicket keeper in cup match for Somerset. My uncle Lloyd Simmons, bosun, also became a captain of Somerset Cricket Club. My grandfather, as I said, was captain. He also became the president of the club, and my grandfather was the longest serving captain in cup match. He was captain for 13 years in cup match. No captain has been in cup match as long as him. And he's also won as many captains, won as many games as anyone else. And Bummy Summers, of course, won 8 and lost 1. Not lost 1, but won 8 and drew 1. Bummy didn't lose any games when he was captain. And my grandfather actually was 13 years as a captain. I think he won 8, lost 3, and drew 2 games. And so, hey, it was in my blood to be a cup match player. And so in '63, again in '63, when I played in the cup match, I mean that was an experience. And let me tell you, in the first inning, uh, when Somerset went into bat, I was out first ball. First ball, I was
what?
out.
Sorry. Could you say that again? Couldn't
I
hear you.
was out first ball. I was bowled first ball by Kenny Paul. I'll never
That's
forget it.
for,
I
so
ran
you
out
was
to
out
bat.
for so you
I
was
was
out
out
for a
for a
duck.
duck. For a duck.
Oh,
That's
okay,
right. And one, not only a duck, but one ball. You know,
okay.
and I was so nervous, man. When I went out to bed, I was so nervous. I was shaking. And Dennis Wainwright was behind the wicket. And he was saying all kinds of things to me. And so I looked up, and I'm telling you, Kenny Paul was bowling. And when Kenny Paul came down, I just saw a blur. And all I could do was hear my stumps go splashing all over the place. And the people were running on the field because I was the last man. I was the 10th man out. So everybody came onto the field. So that was an incredible experience. But in that same game, Christopher, you know, I picked myself up. And when I was bowling, I got the wicket, got my first wicket. I bowled Eldon Rana in my first wicket. So that was my first wicket in cup match. And then also I was in slips, and I caught Bummy Simons out in slips off the bowling of Charles Dolphin.
You caught Bomby Simon?
That's right. I caught Bummy Simons in slips off the bowling of Charles Dolphin. And
I
that
don't know.
was
I might have to call Uncle Bomby up and ask him, is this true?
That's right. Well, it's the truth. I can tell you that. I remember
Mm-hmm.
for sure because
So
it was the first catch I ever had in cup match, and so that was and after that cup match, I remember, and we drew. The game ended in a draw, and after that, I went abroad to school in England. Went to Teachers College, and while I was in England, in Teachers College, I played for the cricket team at Colham College, and became the captain of the team in my second year. In fact, I became the captain of the team. I was the captain 2 years at Colham College. Played some exciting cricket. Played with, one of the guys I played with in college went on to play for England. Um, fast bowler. Oh man, his name is skipping me right now. But he went on from
around
Colham.
soonest.
Sorry, no, not Sooners. He's a fast bowler. Fast bowler. Oh goodness, that's crazy, but it's skipping me. It will come back to me before we finish. Um,
Mm. So
but yeah, go ahead.
who was your captain when you was a coach when you
When I
first
was
who
a
was the
coach, my
captain?
captain was John Stowe, and I love him. John Stowe was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because the encouragement that he gave me was absolutely incredible, especially after I was out for one ball. The way that he encouraged me, stayed with me, supported me all the way through. I'm forever grateful to the kind of leadership that John Stowe provided for me. He's for me. John Stowe was a great man and a super captain.
Who were some of your other teammates during that
Okay,
era?
yeah, other teammates. When I look at that team, it would have been. In fact, that year we had five coaches. I think running the team, and we had five coaches. The coach were Joe Bailey, and the other coach Dewey Trott, Lloyd Rayner. Did I say Joe Bailey?
Yes, you
Um,
did.
oh, Lloyd Rayner, and myself. That's fourth. There's the fifth one. I'm trying to think of the fifth one. Um, who was the fifth one inside? But we had in the team was Mackie Simmons, was in the team. Charles Dolphin was in the team. Neville Roberts was in the team. Carl Buckshoe Swan was an opening bat in the team. Friday Bremer was in the team. Yeah, we had an outstanding team that year, and as I said, the match was drawn, so it was it was a fairly close match.
Okay. So let's just take a step back for a minute from a historical and cultural perspective.
Yes.
What does Pop Match A mean to you, and what does it mean to the people of Somerset?
Okay. And first and foremost, growing up, I didn't learn as much about the history of cup match until later on. In fact, when I was growing up, I know the one thing I remembered was that everything that we do in July is surrounded by cup match because my grandfather, as I said, my grandfather played, my uncles played, my daddy played, and so we were always geared towards cup match in July, and in fact, I didn't mention it, but when I became captain of Somerset in 1968, I became the third generation of our family to be a captain, and at that time was the first third generation to captain to be captain in Somerset, and so that was always a big part, and as a boy growing up, I always spent a lot of time down at the field, around the practice wicket. I watched the guys training, whether it be Cheesy Hughes, Charles Dolphin, Big Charles Buck Swan, Bunkers Bean, um, all of those guys. I used to get as close as I could to them. I just loved the game of cricket. And so, when I was finally selected to play, it was like something that was extra, extra, extra special. And so now it's important too that we continue to promote the aspect of cup match in regards to how it started, why cup match started. The fact that it's celebrating the emancipation of the slaves. We go back to when, of course, when the slaves were emancipated. The slaves didn't have anything. They didn't have any money. They didn't have any houses. They had no votes. They had no land, and so in the end, they came together. They came together with as little as what they had, but they came together and formed the friendly societies and the lodges, and it was from that the game of cricket, around Emancipation Day, there were picnics and all kinds of activities around the day, and there was also cricket played around the day. And as we go back, as you look back in history, you'll find that in the mid '80s, in the late 1880s, cricket was played particularly well by people from Somerset and people from St. George's. And both Somerset and St. George's, too, Chris, and the reason was because the British were set up at the garrison field, at the garrison in St. George's. They had a garrison, and then in the dockyard in Somerset. And so the Bermudians who played cricket learned their cricket from the British who were in dockyard or in the Navy. And so, as a result of these friendly games that were played, first of all, by the lodges on Emancipation Day, around the picnics, it finally got around to be where there was such an exciting game that the two teams from Somerset and St. George's, they got together and said, "Look, this is such a great event. It was an exciting game in 1901. They say, hey, let's make this an annual event." And so they came
Mhm.
together, bought a trophy from England. They had a trophy made in England, cost a guinea at that, 21. And so the silver trophy was made, brought to Bermuda, and cup match began by name in 1902, and it was held on how to celebrate Emancipation Day on the 1st of August. The first one being the 1902 was the first actual cup match games. There were three games played in 1902, and after that, a single game each year. But before then, going back to, what's important also, Chris, to remember is to going back to slavery when in 1834 emancipation came about. The next year, on the 1st of August 1835, the people decided that they weren't going to work. And so, the slaves decided, or the people who were no longer enslaved, decided they didn't care. Hey, they told their boss they were not working. And so they did not work. And that went on, and that was up until, and they didn't go to work all the way up until I think it was 1947, something like that, when that was, yeah, I think it was 47 when a holiday was made for cup match, when the government finally broke down and decided that they were going to make cup match a holiday.
Yeah, it was as they would say, it was codified in law.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. What to in for I may have missed it, but if I did, please forgive me.
Yeah.
What does cup match mean to the people of Somerset?
Oh man,
In,
and those are people, though now, now Bermuda's very different today too, Chris, because there was a time that when I was growing up, everybody who lived in Somerset was from Somerset.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
today now, as particularly being a politician and being out there and canvassing, you certainly know that nowadays people move. It's not like in the days when I was young coming up. People, if you were born in Somerset, that's where you stayed. You stayed there
Yeah.
almost all your life, kind of thing.
And
But
didn't
things
cross that bridge.
that's right. Exactly. And that's another thing that in the early years, to play for Somerset, you couldn't be across the bridge. You couldn't make that team if you lived across the bridge.
Yeah, I would say I was blessed to have a friendship with someone, and they sat me down and they said, listen, let me explain something to you
Uh-huh.
in no uncertain terms. White Hill ain't Somerset.
Right.
Damn people, you got White Hill and you got damn people across the bridge. And they explained that at one point in time, if you were from White Hill, even if you were a good player,
Right.
you're not getting in Somerset side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is.
Yeah,
I
but it's
just
partially true because when you had guys like, because the Hunts came from that side of the bridge, so you had people like Champ Hunt and Eamon Hunt, and those fellas who were playing, and they were some of our best players. Yeah, yeah. But that was the word was out, and I don't know how actually exactly true it stayed, but the word was out that if you didn't come from if you came from across the bridge, it's very difficult to make that service team.
yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Sure.
That let's lead up to the in the '70s. What was it
Yeah.
like for Somerset early '70s?
But let me tell you, I'll tell you what it was like for me. When I came back from school in England, I came back. I played in '63, and I was in England from 60. I was in England '64, '65, and '66, and then I came back to Bermuda and to start teaching in 1960, the end of '66. The cup match had already been played. But I played in '67. I played in '67, '68, '69, and '70. I became captain for the first time in 1968. But like I tell you, that when I took over the team as captain, Chris, hey, nobody didn't want to be the captain of Somerset. They were taking too many licks. And I was young and brazen, and I said, I'll do it. I did. I probably became the captain because I was bullheaded and decided
Uh,
that, hey, man, I could do it. And the thing is, I had been in England. I'd been, captain my college team and done quite well captaining. So I figured, hey, I can be captain, sure. Even though St. George's is putting a lot of licks on us because that's what was happening then. Bummy Simons had
sorry,
full
I couldn't.
control.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you say that
No,
again?
no, I said Bummy Simons had full control.
You put somebody putting licks on you.
Oh yeah, no, we were taking. I mean, yes, we were taking our licks, and the first year that I was captain was 1960. 68. Yeah, I was captain in '68, and I'll never forget. I was so nervous, Chris, that we take the boat down. We used to take the boat down. So I went down. I left my shirts, and my boots. I left them home, and my daddy who was sick at the time, had to get out of his sick bed, get in the car, and drive my boots and my shirts down to St. George's for me because I forgot them. Can you imagine that?
What you send? Did you send them a WhatsApp? Hey, Dad, can you bring my?
I got well, we had telephones. I think we had telephones, so you could telephone, and so that's
Okay.
how I knew. And so anyway, he brought them down to me, and then of course, Bummy was the captain, and we took a beating in 1968. We took another beating in 1969, the first 2 years that I was the captain. And in '69, Bummy, Bummy retired. But a great thing I like to say, and I give Bummy all the credit in the world. I'm so grateful for Bummy and the relationship that I was able to develop with him. Because Bummy, as a young captain, and particularly because he was, hey, he was in total control. And But after cup match in 1968, I never forget Bummy. I went with Bummy and spent the day at Bermudiana Beach Club on the beach, and we sat and we talked about the game, and he gave me some advice on how I could improve as a captain, and he always was very helpful to me, even though we were on the opposite sides. People don't realize this, but he was, I became close to him, and he became a mentor to me in terms of, providing leadership on the cricket field. And then in 1970, when after Bummy had retired, 1970 was when we were in great position. I thought, we had a good opportunity maybe to win the cup. It ended up a draw. But we had St. George's in deep trouble, particularly in the first inning. We bowled them out for, I don't know how many they made. They made, let me try to think how many runs they made. They made 127, I think it was. They scored 127 in the first inning. But then we went in, I'll never forget it. We went in and made something like 111. And I got out now because I had 3 wickets. Before the boat even got from St. George's up to Somerset, I had pulled 3 of them out. The 3 of St. George's men were out. And so we went through them all out for 125, but then we only made 111. I was some sort of vexed. I tell you,
I
I
mean, how
said,
many
I
runs you
said,
made?
man, I made 15 in that inning. I made 15. I think I made more runs than anybody else in that 100 and 11. I think Joe Bailey and I we both made 15 runs each in the first inning of that match. But hey, then they went back in, and that was a situation where I will never forget this either. When St. George were batting, we had them in trouble again. And Campbell Simons, wicketkeeper, took a catch off the bowling of Joe Bailey, and Clarence Parfit Tuppence had edged the ball, and Campbell took it, and Clarence started to walk, you know, and Rupert Scotland said to him, "Come back, boy, get back here," and the umpire said, "Not out," and that was an incredible time because they went on and Scotland went on to make 100, and they saved the game. In essence, the game ended up in a draw, and we went to St. George's the next year. But the next year, in fact, that's when I left and went abroad to play for the New York Cosmos in the North American Soccer League.
That's a separate show because that
Yeah,
in itself is
yeah,
a whole show for itself.
yeah.
So let's fast forward to 1979,
Oh
Cup
yeah,
match
that was a special
1979.
year. Special year.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
And
heard, sorry, heard.
78 before that too. 78 was important too,
Well,
because I
let's
came.
talk about that then. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that then. Jump to 79.
yeah, because I came back. I came back. I'll never forget it. I'd been overseas, and playing because I missed 4 years in between. I missed 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75. I think I missed. Then I played in 76, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, I played in 77. I played because I came back from playing football in 1976. So I came home, Chris, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to just play some league cricket for Somerset, right? I didn't have any thought of playing cup match. I'm going to play league cricket." So I'll never forget, I had not picked up a ball the whole time I was away playing football. I never picked up a cricket ball. And when I came back and went up Somerset Cricket Club, I picked up this ball and went and bowled. The first ball I bowled straight on the center stump, knocking the center stump out. I said, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe you can play. Maybe you can play. Maybe you can play cup match." And so that's when I, made the effort, and I got selected for the team in 1977, 77. Campbell Simons was the captain. And in that match, down St. George's, I got in that first match back, I took 5 wickets, 5 for 75, I think it was. And same year, Lionel Thomas made a big score. But it ended up, I think the match ended up in a draw. And then we came to Somerset in 1978. And in 78 was when Somerset were in trouble, and Campbell Simons and myself had a stand of something like almost, it was over 80, it was 80, 82 or 83 runs for the last wicket. And I came in at number 11. We were in trouble. And But Campbell went on to make 100, and I stayed with Campbell for hours as we made enough runs to be able for us to hold on to a draw. And what that meant was that the game would stay in Somerset. And that led to
Oh,
1979.
all right. So for those who don't know, explain that part about the draw means
Right,
that the game
right.
stayed
That's
in
right.
Somerset.
Had we not drawn that game against St. George's of Somerset, the match in 1979 would have been played in St. George's. And so
Hmm.
we'd have probably had a very different end result to all of it, because it was important for us to be home in 1979. And so because we drew, hey, the game stayed in Somerset, and of course, We played that game in 1979, which was the historic victory where we.
So for many of us don't know that. So tell us, in 5 minutes or less, just explain that particular game, Cup match 1979.
Oh man, that was such an exciting. I think the first thing to say is that um, we went into the match. Somerset went into the match with every bit of confidence in the world, and with quite good reason. We had on our team, 8 of the players on our team were players who had played in the Bermuda team that was in went away for the ICC championship. 8 of our players. The only
You want to
players,
name?
yeah, the only players who did not go overseas was um, Robert Hines, Quentin Sherlock, and myself. And I remember I had stepped down from the national team because I just become the principal at Worksec, and I took myself out of the running for the team. I stepped away and said I'm not going to. So even if they wanted to pick me, I would not have been available. So I withdrew from trying to make that team. And then we had Robert Hines, who was, that year one of the best bowlers in the island, uh, and um, and Quentin Sherlock was the third player who was not in the Bermuda team that went overseas. So we were very confident. We went into the match knowing exactly what we needed to do. We knew how we were going to bowl to each player on the St. George's team. We knew how many runs we needed to make by a certain time. And that's why in the match, and I remember uh, taking criticism for it because we declared, we went into bat first, and we actually scored 272 for four. Scored 272 for four, and decided to declare. And when we declared, John Tucker was on 84, just 16 runs short of a century. But we had decided, beforehand, in the team meeting, we had decided that we won certain number of runs by a certain time in order that we would have the time to be able to get St. George's in and out in order to be victorious in the match. And so we declared 270 72 for four. It was, and as I said, the top scorers were Joan Tucker had 84, and Colin Blades scored 60 odd runs, and Sad Brown scored around 40 in the region of 40 runs. So a good performance in terms of our batting. And then when we went out to bowl, St. George's had a fairly good start actually with Randall Smith and young Alan Richardson opening the batting. But in the end, Randall scored over 50. Randall scored 53, I think, in that match. But we were able to bowl them out for 200. Bowled them out for 200, and then we went in a second innings and we declared again. And in fact, we became the first team to declare twice in win cup match. We declared we scored 142 for 8 in the second inning, and then St. George's they went in and scored just over 70. And so that was absolutely exciting. I'll never forget as we were moving in, and the last few men were entered. Was I think Coach Trott got the last wicket, and it was just Coach Trott bowled magnificently. That second inning, claimed 5 wickets. It was in that inning, and I'll never forget Vincent Reed taking an absolutely amazing catch in the slips to dismiss. I think it was Clevie Wade, and off the bowling of Coach Trott. Just some amazing cricket we played, but we had the team. We had an outstanding team. We had planned what we were going to do, and we went through and just completed our plan. I can't see you anymore. Christopher, I can't see you. Yeah, Chris, are you back there? I'm on, but I can't hear anything. I'm not hearing you, Chris. Oh man, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Oh well, but I can't hear you now. Goodness. Let me see. Can you hear me now? I'd love to be able to answer some of those questions. Yeah, I hear you now. You're there.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulty.
yeah, yeah.
But you got coordinate slips, but you got to readjust, reset your field.
Right.
So you were saying that you're talking about 1979.
Yes.
You declared I left you at John Stavo was on 85 or
Yeah,
84,
John Tucker.
and you had
John
to
Tucker
declare.
was on 84 when we declared. And so a lot of people
Okay.
were upset with me because we declared at 84. But we had already talked about it. John knew exactly what we were doing, what the aim of the team was.
Did you
And
have
so
that in writing?
it was not in writing, but this is certainly what we had discussed before we went on the field. And the players knew exactly what was happening. And I remember Al going out there, and Al pushed the score along a little bit. And then, there came the time that we had to declare. We wanted to win the game, and that was more important than anything else. And John understood. He knew what the plan was, and certainly, it was not the easiest thing to do, but if we were going to win, it was important that we made that kind of a move.
Mm. So let me ask you this, sir. So exactly how did the game evolve? For some of us didn't get to see it.
Oh, you mean the cup match that night,
That
'79?
that particular game.
Yeah. So right, we declared. Then St. George's went in, and they scored. They started well actually, and they scored. Ended up scoring 200. So that meant they were behind us by about 79 or something like that. And Randall Smith scored 50 odd, 53, I think it was, that he scored. So he had a good innings. And also the other opening bat, Alan Smith, batted quite well as well. But we bowled him out for 200. Then we went back in, and in our second inning, we declared at 100, I think it was 142 for eight. So we declared again. So we declared twice in the match, and then we ended up and we bowled them out for 73, and so we ended up winning the game by like 141 runs or something like that. Yeah, and I'll now forget. In the end,
So what?
uh, go ahead. Now, in the
No, I was
end,
asking, what was the feeling like when you knew you actually had won the game?
oh man, it was absolutely amazing, Christopher, because and we started to feel it. And we looked around the field and we could not see any concrete. It was all people. That's all we could see was people, because people started to come from Horseshoe Bay. They came from the beaches. They came from everywhere, because people got to know it looks like Summers is going to win. And by the time we got that last wicket, it was Sayed Brown took the catch, and the bowler was Coach Trott. Coach Trott was bowling, and we took that last wicket, and man, the field was just flooded, flooded with people. We had the devil to get to the changing room. It was just amazing.
Okay. So apologies once again, technical issues. We have a comment from someone. I suspect I know who they are, but I
Yes.
won't. I won't. I won't play Sherlock Holmes. This was awesome. I always enjoy hearing the story of my pa building out Mr. Horton. I guess the pa would have been Kenny Bass. How many
Right.
persons actually build you out, Mr. Horton? So we
Um,
can narrow it down.
Oh, that Kenny Paul. That was Kenny Paul cup match. Kenny Paul booed me out of cup match.
Okay.
Um, I've been bowled by Parfit,
Okay.
Clarence Parfit.
Well, I
I'm,
suspect it. I suspect I know who it is because at the end they says the for Somerset. So you are
oh,
one of Kenny Paul's grandchildren actually for Somerset. I don't know how
okay.
crazy that is.
Yeah, no, but no, it was Kenny Paul. Kenny Paul was the one who bowled me, and again, a guy who I have a lot of respect for. I had a lot of respect for, and in fact, his son went to Warwick Sec. He was there at Warwick Sec with me. Yeah, and I was great friends. And it's amazing. Became great friends with him and his wife. Yeah,
We have a comment from Miss Pamela Webb, someone
yeah.
who lives across the bridge from Somerset,
Oh yes,
but she's for Somerset. I don't know. Then we have the great Mr. Learned Larry Scott
oh yes.
had a comment,
Uh-huh.
and you had quite a few people making comments. But I just want to thank you. Before we go any further, I just want to thank you for sharing the history because one of the things in our culture as Black people, like we have our history is oral, right?
Right,
90%
right.
of our history is oral.
Yes.
And when somebody passes away or gets dementia,
Mm-hmm.
that's gone, right?
Yes, that's right. That's
So it's
right.
important that we share this history and record it so when future generations are looking to say what really happened in 1979,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they can refer back to this,
Right. That's right. That's right.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
Um, there's a commenter from Ms. Rhonda Hill.
Yes.
Says cup match is about our culture. No need to make it anything else. What do you feel about the actual culture of cup match?
No, absolutely. Cup match. She's right. Cup match is about our culture. Cup
Mhm.
match is about our culture, and when we talk about our culture, we talk about what are the things that we do on Cup Match Day. First, so I talked about the history and the connection to emancipation, and the fact
Mhm.
that the picnics, what the picnics and the cricket games, all that led to Cup Match being what it is today. It was as a result of the lodges having their picnics and coming together all up and down the island. And then in the end, because we had this one exciting game, they had started to play cricket along with the picnics, etc. Then all of a sudden, cricket became exciting. So it became a central part of the Emancipation Day celebrations. And it led to it being cup match. Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
have
so it's
another
important.
commenter.
Yes, go ahead.
And you would know the answer to this. Brutus, I presume that me and Brutus Furgo,
Yeah,
St. George's captain, made a dock.
right. Yes,
I don't know
yes.
if he like made a dock as in Bill took a dock or
No, no, he
I don't
scored.
know what he meant.
He didn't score any runs because in fact, I caught him out in slips.
You called him in slips?
Right, right.
Okay. So apart from 1979, what would you say is your most memorable, one of your most memorable cup match experiences?
Well, I think the first cup match, 1963, when I was 18-year-old and played, and just getting getting involved with it. I think that was an amazing couple of days. We ended up drawing the game. Hey, I got a duck, but you know what? I got up. It taught me something. It taught me that you're not going to have success every day, and when you don't have success, you got to get up and deal with it. And so I was able to get up. Yeah, I had a duck out first ball in my first cup match, but I was able to get up and go on to become the captain and go on to lead Somerset to a great victory in '79, and go on to enjoy the game of cricket. And so you learn, because when you learn, you learn from, if you learn from your losses, then that's important. Don't just lose. You lose, you
Mhm.
learn from it. Make sure it doesn't happen another time like that.
So, we have a comment. I'll let you see the comment because if I read it incorrect, I might find myself in court.
Tell the sir, the white horse marching the cup There you won. And see if you can remember all the team names. You mean the team that won in '79?
Yeah, I guess that's what it's trying to say.
Of course, I can remember. Of course, I was the captain. Joe Bailey was the vice captain. The opening bats were Quentin Sherlock and Sayed Braun. Vincent Reed batted number 4. Then we Colin Blades. We had um, Al James. We had Vincent Cotrot. We had Barry DeCudo. Um, we had Robert Hines, and you had Randy Horton, who was the captain.
I guess you passed the Larry Scott test.
Tell Larry I don't have dementia.
Yeah. So, as I said, Ms. Horton, I want to thank you because, I mean, although quite clearly we're on different sides of the
Right.
fence here, right?
Yeah, but
But
Cup bigger than that.
yes, you are one of our elder statesmen in many different forms. So I feel honored that you took this time to speak with us. What will be your message to the people of Bermuda about honoring our cup match tradition?
I just think it's very important that we do not forget that, Chris. I think that as we move into emancipation, we want to honor, as we're celebrating, we need to honor those people who started it. Those people who, as a result of emancipation, came together, formed the lodges, then that led to the picnics and the games that were played around it, that led to the formation uh, of setting up the actual cup match event. So we need to honor those people who came before. We need to honor those people who built Somerset Cricket Club and St. George's Cricket Club. Those people who came before us, who just made sure that the tradition was kept alive. I think that's ever so important that we know that our young people know the connection between cup match and emancipation, just what emancipation is and what it meant to those people. The fact that how strong people were to decide that, hey, I'm not coming to work on Emancipation Day. We're not coming to work. And as I remember, Jennifer Mendes did an op-ed for the Royal Gazette last year, I believe it was, and she said about how it was like 114 years of labor, of strike, a labor strike. Where they struck every day up until 1947 when it was made a public holiday. So all the way from 1834 to 1835, because that would have been the first celebration of emancipation, up to 47, up to 1947. A lot of years of saying I'm not going to work on cup
I
match.
ain't coming work.
That's right.
You know where to find me. So, how are you as a winder? How are you and the family going to be spending cup match this year?
Well, usually we're probably going to go and do a little beach on the first day, but the second day I hope to come down to the game definitely, yeah, and maybe even the first day depending on how it may go. But of course, I like to, now that I don't play. I think it's important. I said, to spend some time, on the beach with my family because I never did that all the times that I was playing. I was always out on the field.
Mm. And I can't let it slide. Any predictions?
You know what? I looked at, I mean, St. Somerset have a very good team.
I don't expect you to say anything different,
Yeah,
but
Somerset have a very good team. I just hope that St. George's will live up to the expectations of playing a high level of cricket in the game. Because I think that too is important. That the players realize that they're in an event that calls for them to, to give their best. People, a lot of money is spent in setting up the game and people coming down, et cetera, et cetera. So, you've got to approach the game in a way that I'm going to satisfy those people who are coming out to watch the game. I mean, I always believe in being well prepared. So when I went on the field, I was ready to do what I needed to do in order to win.
So going off of your 1963
3?
experience of taking the dock
Yes.
and what picking yourself up,
Yes.
so I'm going to ask you to transcend, be a real statesman at this point in time.
Yeah.
What words of encouragement would you have for the players and fans of St. George's right now?
But, just, hey, to keep their heads up, Christopher, to keep their heads up. And your time will come. Your time will come. But it's not going to come unless you are well prepared, unless you put the time in, because some should have a very good team. It doesn't mean to say that they can't be beaten. But they only can be beaten by a team that is well prepared, coming to give all that it takes in order to wrest the trophy away from Somerset. And you know what, Chris? I'm a Somerset man through and through, but it would be great for the game if St. George's could do something like win.
Something like win. We have a comment from Mr. Vance Brown, who comes from the Bronx on the other side of White Hill Bronx.
Oh yeah, that's Dennis's brother, Vance.
Yeah. He says Somerset might even win might even be a 2-1.
Yeah, I mean they got a great team. They got a great team, I tell you. Yeah.
What words do you have for Jordan, captain?
Jordan, you've got an excellent team. Make sure you allow your players to play to their strengths. Allow the players to play to their strengths, and also he'll know. I mean, obviously they would have spent time together with their coach Jeff Richardson, who's doing a great job up there. They will work out, no doubt, what they need to do. And St. George's big card this year is Delray Rollins. And I'm sure Summers is well prepared to be dealing with Delray and what he might bring to the game, because Delray is an outstanding cricketer. And so Somerset, no doubt, have spent, I don't know this for sure, but no doubt they will have spent time thinking about what they need to do in order to keep him under control.
So a thought just came to me when you said big card. I'm sure there was I'm going to say this.
Yes.
Because up until a week ago, a lot of us come say hi to your this your great nephew here.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Everything's good. How are you?
Good. I haven't seen you since. Where was it I saw you, Christopher? It was where did I run into you?
I can't quite remember, but his one of his heroes.
Yes.
Avenel's boy.
Yes. All right.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right.
Yeah. Last week, it's just like politics, right? You have to get a pulse for the people.
Sure.
How they're feeling, what they're thinking.
Yes.
And I swear up to last week, right? People was like, "Yeah, bro, I think you guys are gonna take it this year." You got Delray back, and things ain't looking too good for us. I think what they meant was that Chris Douglas was not eligible to play, and that was since I wouldn't say what happened, but ever since something happened, and now he's eligible to play again.
They've changed that too.
People have like sort of got back the mojo, like, we're gonna come down here and beat you guys now, like,
Right.
So,
right.
it's these things that they are the spirit of cup match, right?
Yeah, man, and it goes on, and I think it's great, man. I just think that it's great that people get involved, and people have their different opinions about what's going to happen. Hey, that's the fun of it all,
Yeah.
Christopher. And like you said, I think what's so important though. What's so important is that people do not forget. People do, and yes, it's important for us to celebrate and have party, but it's also important to celebrate, to understand, why we have this celebration, and be able to reflect back to the emancipation of the slaves.
Yeah. So, Mr. Horton, we had originally spoke a half an hour, but there was no way to contain all that history in half an hour. So I thank you for granting me an
Hey, man,
extra
no, thank you,
half an hour
Chris.
of your time.
Chris,
Please,
thank you.
please tell Ms. Horton I appreciate her lending you
All
to
right,
the people of Bermuda once again for another hour.
right,
And
good.
we look forward to having you back to speak. Maybe a little post, depending on how things go,
Okay, okay, yeah, that would be
a little
cool.
post cup match
I
commentary.
don't mind taking licks if necessary.
I'm just saying, but more importantly, we do wanna talk about your football career, because
Uh-huh.
that's on a whole nother. Not many people in the world could say they stood next to that guy. But
Yeah.
we'll save that picture. We'll save
All
that
right.
picture.
Okay.
And also, of course, your political and education career. You have a lot. You're so multifaceted, right? That there's a lot to be captured. I want to thank you for being our guest, not
All
just
right.
today, but going forward.
No, good. Now I'll let Paul know I chatted with you tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Arsenal. Yeah. Tell
Right.
him
That's right.
he almost made it, but not quite. All right, so we have one comment from Pam Augustus, says St. George's.
Yeah.
Maria says St. George's. Somebody says, good show. Thank you, Mr. Horton. Vance Braun, Larry Scott, he had this to say after you passed his test.
Uh-huh. Oh, Larry
So,
said
yeah.
I passed his test, did I?
Yeah. These lawyers always try to put you on the stand and see if you're gonna bubble. Like,
Tell him I even remember the players I played with in 1963.
well, we'll leave it at that. And Mr. Speaker, the House
Yes.
is now adjourned
All right.
until
Thank you, Chris.
post-cup match.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
All right.
Much appreciated.
Yes.
All right. Bless you, man.
All right.